A bonus is always good news. Congratulations. When you get your bonus, what you want to think of is the tax impact of that bonus. A lot of times what happens is an employer can decide to withhold a certain preset fixed amount of tax on that bonus, even if that's not the actual rate, your tax rate of how much taxes you owe by the end of the year. So in 2026, employers can withhold a 22% federal tax rate on any bonuses that are less than $1 million. So for a lot of our clients, they may find themselves at a higher tax bracket than 22%, but that was the only amount of money that was withheld from the bonus, so that when tax season comes around, you find that you didn't withhold enough during that time period and you owe money. Even if you withhold the right amount from your normal paycheck, right, and federal and savings, if you get a significant bonus that makes up a good percentage of your income, it's going to throw that off whack where you now may end up owing money at the end of the year because the way your company does it, it only withheld 22% for taxes instead of, say, 30%. As soon as you get the bonus, if you recognize that you're under withheld, in this example at 22%, you would identify maybe you actually owe an extra 8% because you're at a 30% tax bracket, for example. You would calculate that extra 8% and you would send that off to the government in the form of an estimated tax payment so that you can stay at that nice steady ground throughout the year rather than be under withheld all year because of your bonus. The second general rule of thumb, get a bonus, is ideally you have a plan in place before the cash is in your hand because we're all human. And if you just see a bunch of extra cash hit your account, you're likely going to find yourself, spending a little bit more, leaning into some larger purchases. So one of the biggest tips we can give is to identify what you want the plan for that money to be before it's actually cash in hand. And when in doubt, if you can save about 50% or so of that money, maybe you're saving it to cash, maybe you're investing it into the market, but to save or invest at least 50% of a bonus would be a great use of those funds. The third thing that you want to consider is your retirement contributions. So for example, if you normally put 10% of your income toward retirement and you're used to your steady paycheck, well, you might have a large bonus that comes into play. And if a large bonus comes in and you still have it at 10% of your pay coming out of that bonus going into your retirement plan, then that might not be what you had in mind for the year. Maybe you're going to overfund or immediately fund your 401k for the whole year because of that bonus. Look at your contribution rate, the amount of money that you have from your paycheck going into your 401k plan, as an example. Look at that money right before bonus season and make sure you don't need to adjust it up or down depending on what your goals are for the year. So for some people, they may say, hey, the bonus is the only way that I max out my 401k. So right before bonus season hits, they might increase their contributions to 100% of pay, as an example, max out their entire 401k for the year, and then the rest of the money is made their way into their paycheck, and then they have 0% contributions for the rest of the year. So you just want to think about how your planning goes into play with your ongoing monthly contributions if you're doing them, and whether you want to move that bonus amount up or down right before it hits. It's a fun one to play with because people will often get thrown off. You may get your net proceeds of your bonus and say, wait a second, I don't understand what happened. Yeah, I knew some money was coming out for taxes. And often the number one mistake people make is they didn't adjust their 401k contribution amount. So it took out a huge amount of their bonus going toward their 401k instead of the net proceeds that they were looking for. So it's important to keep an eye on it.